Oh, you are a peach. Thanks a lot, dude. So I talked to a friend of mine. I haven't talked to him quite some time, and he asked me for a recipe for something that I made a long time ago at my dad's restaurant in California, which was a porchetta. So I was like, okay, well, maybe let's do a meat and motorcycles porchetta edition. Porchetta edition. Porchetta is a touchy subject, especially amongst the Italians, because depending on where you're from, you know, there's all kinds of different regions and how they do the porchetta. And there's porchetta alla romana, probably the most famous one, and that's just a whole pig, deboned, head on, rolled up, and rotisseried till the skin's nice and golden and crackling, and because there's no bones in it, they just get this giant serrated, like a serrated machete, and they shave off pieces of it and make porchetta sandwiches, and it's delicious. And there's porchetta Toscana, which is what I'm familiar with when I worked in Tuscany for a butcher, and that's the midsection of the pig, or half a pig, from just under the shoulders, or the fifth rib, down to just above where the back legs would start. And then you get that side of pig on the table, and you take out the ribs and the spine, and then you roll that up and you roast it with herbs and spices until the skin's crackly, and then you get your serrated machete and chop it up, and you make sandwiches, or you just serve the meat by itself, either way. And there's kind of a restaurant application that's a little more practical, and that's taking a pork loin and then wrapping a pork belly around it, tying it up and roasting it. And then I've seen some people even do it with like a pork shoulder, and I don't. To each their own. That's not my thing. I just don't have much connection to that recipe. Anyway, mine, if I did it in Italy, they would be, "This is not a porchetta. It's an arista. It's an arista." Which, yeah, it's just a pork loin butterflied and roasted. So it's really just a pork roast. But, hell, no one has a trademark on porchetta, so, if I want to call it porchetta, whatever. But it's easy to make at home, It's a lot of work dealing with bellies and... Anyway, so here you go. Porchetta del Macellaio NYC. So what you're going to need for this is 3 to 4 pound boneless pork loin. That's going to feed, 4 people, 5 people, maybe even have some leftovers. And try and get it from a butcher or a market that has a butcher that will butterfly it for you. Okay? Now, any good butcher will be more than happy to do this for you, because 1, it's his job, and 2, he's probably been grinding meat and putting some steaks in cryovac. So there's a little bit of skill. It's nothing too crazy, and it gives him a chance to do it. Basically what you're doing is you're taking a round piece of meat, all right, and then you're cutting it and opening it up so it lays flat, so you can stuff it and then roll it back up with whatever you put inside. So you'll need your 4 pound boneless pork loin, butterflied. And then ask the butcher if you can buy some butcher string from him. Okay, you're going to need about 6 feet. Most of the time, sometimes, I can't speak for everybody, but most of the time they just give you some string, because, it's a little string. They got a lot of it, but, I don't like to assume they're going to give me string, so, say, "Hey, can I buy a little string from you?" And then they go, "Nah, here you go." "Oh, really? Wow." Whatever. Then you're going to need some prosciutto. I'd probably get about at least a half a pound, if not more. You can always eat what you don't use in the porchetta, because it's delicious. But you want your prosciutto, and you're going to want it laid out flat, and then like on wax or parchment paper or something, so you can take it out and deal with it later. You're going to need about 4 large white onions. You're going to need 6 cloves of garlic, chopped up pretty fine. Salt and pepper. You're going to need a pound of sweet Italian sausage. Bulk if you can. If it's in casings, that's okay. You just have to slice the casings down the middle and then take the sausage out of the casings. It's a little bit of work, but not that big of a deal. And a roasting pan that'll fit your porchetta. And like a cast iron skillet or a larger saute pan that can accommodate the size of the pork loin. Lastly, I like to use fennel pollen. If you can find it, use fennel pollen. It's not cheap, so if it's too expensive or you can't find it, which, you know, it's no shame if you can't, it's not everywhere, you can just get some fennel seeds and toast them. So you get a small saute pan, start cold, put the seeds in there, put it on medium heat, and then as it warms up, the seeds will toast and kind of start to turn, you know, golden brown on you. What that'll do is bring some of the flavor out of the fennel seeds, and then put them in a spice grinder or a coffee grinder or a blender, whatever you can to grind up those fennel seeds, and use that as a substitute. You probably need a couple of cups of fennel seed toasted and ground to get done what you need to get done. Okay, so that's all your stuff. And now here's how you make it. You want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. I like working with hot ovens just because I'm used to restaurants where the ovens are just either off or set to apocalypse. And then get a nice big cutting board. What the hell's good? Come on. Thank you. Windy. Okay, we're back. Set your oven to 400 degrees and get that nice and warm. Then, get your pork loin, lay it out, unroll it, lay it down nice and flat, and get your salt and pepper and season it with salt and pepper. And then get your fennel pollen or your fennel seeds, dust that on there, and then get your chopped garlic and kind of rub that around so it's all rubbed into the meat evenly as you can. Once you got all your seasoning down, then get your prosciutto and lay your prosciutto down flat as like a layer, and that is kind of what I use to give you that savory, salty, porky flavor that maybe you would have had with the crackling. You know, it's not the same, but it's still pretty good. So you got your prosciutto down, and then put your sausage down. And try to, you know, spread that as evenly as you can into layers. So you're making this like meat lasagna, right? And then roll it back up very carefully, like a jelly roll. You just kind of roll that thing back up. And then once you got it rolled up and it's kind of stable, get your butcher string. If you got 6 feet of it, cut it into 1-foot strips. And then kind of slide it underneath the meat. Don't lift the meat, just grab one end of the string with each hand and slide it underneath the meat until you're at the middle. I worked for an Italian chef who once told me, meat is like a dog shit on the floor, and the more you touch it and move it, the more the shit get everywhere and make a big mess. So don't make a big mess. Slide the first string underneath to the middle, and then wrap it around and tie it. And just tie like a knot, like you would tie your shoes, you know, as long as it's moderately tight. And then get your next piece of string and do the same thing, but slide it all the way to one end and tie the end. And then take the next piece of string and tie the other end. And take the next piece of string and tie it in between the middle string and one of the ends. And then take another piece of string and tie it in between the middle string and the other end. Right? See where I'm going with here? Season the outside of the pork loin with salt and pepper. Take a little bit of olive oil and pour about a quarter size in your palm of your hand, and then rub your hands together, and then take your hands and rub all over the pork loin. So the pork loin's got a little oil on it, but it's not like totally dripping. It's not excess. You haven't wasted a bunch of oil. Get your cast iron skillet nice and hot and proceed to sear your pork loin and get color on all sides. Okay? All right. Next. Now it takes a little bit of time to get that pork loin, colored on each side. So while that's searing, get your whole onions and kind of rough chop them into, you can either cut them into like rounds, like onion ring size, or just rough chop them. You get what I'm saying? And you're going to put those on the bottom of your roasting pan. And those are going to act as like a roasting rack. And it also keep the bottom of the roast from burning when it touches the hot metal. It's a nice little trick. And you get some more flavor. Okay? So then when your pork loin is browned, put it in the roasting pan on top of the onions and put it in the oven. And I'm going to say roast it at 400. Let's say go 30 minutes. 30 minutes, and that's when you're going to start checking it. Okay? Because everybody's oven's different, and the piece of meat can be different, and, things can change. Who's getting pulled over? Is it me? So after 30 minutes, open up your oven, and very carefully, using a thermometer, see how hot or cold your pork loin is. Probably won't be done, but the temperature you're trying to get to is about 125. If you see my other videos with beef, I'll tell you to go to about 110 if you want it to be medium rare. But when that pork roast gets to about 125, take it out and let it rest for about 5 to 10 minutes. And the temperature is going to rise. And it should rise in 5 to 10 minutes to about 135 degrees, which is medium. Now, people like their pork cooked. They don't want to see any pink. Okay? I like my pork medium rare. I don't mind if it's a little pink and bloody, because people haven't been getting sick from trichinosis and stuff in a long time. Most of that pork's pretty good if you got it from a good source. Okay? No one's going to die. But you want to go at least to 135, final temperature, because you don't want to freak out your house guests, It's a little pink. Can you put a little... So, go to about 125, pull it out and let it rest. And everybody's oven's different, and you're going to see after 30 minutes where it's at, and then check it every, go back in 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how close you are. And then in shorter intervals after that. Because cooking, a lot about cooking, especially roasting, you got to kind of stick around. People read recipes and go, okay, it says this many degrees in that many minutes. See you later. I'm going to go read a magazine or walk the dog, and you come back and your shit's overcooked and dry and the house is on fire and you lost your deposit. But you got to kind of stick around and see. And so you check and see where it's at. Okay, we're not even close. It's got another 10, 15 minutes. Oh, well, we're getting there. We're not quite there. But it's going to start happening faster and faster. And the distance in between temperatures is going to start getting smaller and smaller. And next thing you know, we've overcooked it. Then, don't forget to take the strings off. People are allergic to the strings. It's a string allergy epidemic these days. And then, with a sharp knife, slice your pork loin into about 1-inch thick rounds, and you will expose the nice spiraled, sausagey, fennelly, porky porchetta. And you can do a vegetable of your choice with this. I like broccoli rapini or just some sauteed spinach. Maybe do a little balsamic drizzle or something, but I'll leave the accoutrement up to you. Accoutrement? But yeah, that's the porchetta, or the porchetta light, really. Now with less porchetta. So that one's for you, Matt Morelli. Hope it works out for you. And if you have any questions, Matt or other viewers of the channel, ask questions, leave a comment. Hopefully it's not a nasty comment. Most likely it'll be someone telling me I'm doing it wrong, whatever. That's like the 4th time I've tried to do the porchetta video, and either traffic gets bad, someone almost kills me, or traffic was really good and I ran out of time. I'm dying. Ugh.